A friend of mine once told me that her husband wouldn't combine their bank accounts, and I told her I thought he was being pretty unreasonable. My friend and her husband, they'd been married for a few years, and she said managing their money had become kind of unnecessarily complicated. She paid the mortgage, so he would send her his half, and he paid the utilities, so she would send money back. And so they were constantly transferring money back and forth between each other. And one night she said, "Why don't we just put everything into one account?" And he said, "I don't want to do that." And she asked why. And he said, "Because this works fine." She said, "It doesn't work fine. We're constantly sending money back and forth." And he told her, "It takes 30 seconds. And she said, "Why have 4 accounts when we can just have one?" And he said, "Because I like having my own account." And she said, "But you'd still have your own money." He said, "Yeah, but in a joint account." She said, "Yes, that's what joint means." He said, "Then I don't want one." And honestly, I thought he was just being difficult. She wasn't asking to control what he spent. She was suggesting something that seems pretty normal. And his only excuse not to do it was simply, "I don't want to." And then she said, "It's not like I'm suggesting we put all of our savings in one account. Not after what happened 3 years ago." I said, whoa, 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 whoa. What happened 3 years ago? And she was quiet for a very long time. And then she said she'd taken almost $15,000 out of their savings and put it into an investment and lost almost all of it. He didn't even know she'd moved that money until it was gone. And she said he nearly divorced her. They had to go into counseling, and they rebuilt the marriage, and they rebuilt all of the savings. According to her, they had dealt with it, but think about that conversation again. "I like having my own account. It takes 30 seconds. Why have 4 accounts when we can just have one?" Nothing they said had changed, but now you can hear the argument that they are not having. And for the writers in the room, that is what I talk about when I talk about subtext. Because I could have easily had that husband say, "After what you did, I don't trust you with my money." And she could have said, "It's been 3 years. How long am I supposed to pay for this?" And then they're having the real argument. And that might be a good scene, but the subtext is dead. And they've probably had that argument 100 different ways by this point. They want to have the safer argument. In the original version, they can argue for hours about whether to transfer money back and forth. And the reader will understand that there's $15,000 sitting right in that conversation.